Hi, guys. Welcome to Parallel Paths, a podcast where two humans share their lives and musings from the lens of authenticity, vulnerability, spirituality, and always hilarity. I'm your host, Kelsey, and I'm not joined this week by Ashley. I am joined by a special new friend, Rael Noonan. Hi, Rael.
Hi there.
Rail is a fellow Austinite, a fellow spiritual community member here in Austin, a daredevil, which we shall get into,
Oh,
and a
come on
very
now.
high aura man. For reference, for everyone listening, I met Rail a few times just at like spiritual centers or at an event and was like, this guy sounds fun. And what stuck out to me about you, Rail, is people are at these events just like really intense and they're like, I have trauma you've never heard of. And they kind of
Serious,
like
so serious.
like really cling on, but you have a levity and a humor that I resonate with so much. And before we get into your background, I want to tell you a secret that Alexander Fox, so Alexander Fox is a Reiki master that is a friend of both of ours. He saw me talking to you and he knows that I kind of want to dip from social things. He was like, I think Rail's in your soul family because you love him more than anybody else. And I was like, hi, Key. I love Rail. Yes. So
Good.
Soul fam for life. Love that. But yeah, feel free to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm Rail. I'm, born and raised Austinite. What was that, made me a unicorn these days? Um,
OG.
yeah, yeah. No, it's cool because, like, for a long time, all these people were moving to my town. I'm like, I mean, are y'all cool? But, yeah, no, it's cool. Like, I mean, so many people are coming in. It's actually bringing in the Soul fam, and,
Yeah.
I've kind of fell into this role as, just like unofficial ambassador. So, it's kind of cool, and I'll keep going with it. As far as Daredevil, I just like to do fun stuff. I mean, if that means gets the adrenaline going, then, bonus. So, you hit the nail on the head earlier. Silly goose. That's kind of,
Silly goose.
if I can be silly, that's, what it's about. Cause yeah, like you kinda touched on, everyone wants to be so serious, like, it's not that serious, it's really
It's
not.
not.
It's not. So yeah, that's kinda,
Cool.
me in a nutshell, I guess.
That's real in a nutshell. So we'll get into some questions. The really intent of this episode is just to learn about your story and how it shaped your spirituality, your mindset, kind of your view on things, so the listeners can learn from other perspectives, not just me and Ashley. But first, we had a little segment last week. Ashley can't tell me I can't do it 2 weeks in a row because she's not here, but she would never have
Oh, you can do
squashed
whatever you want,
my
it's your
drive.
podcast, go for it.
Sorry, Ashley. No, she love it. And the question was, if you had a safari animal scrunched down to pocket size as a pet, which safari animal would you choose? I need your answer.
Alright, so, okay, just for clarification, you're talking safari, like, so am I, like, limited to, like, the continent of Africa, or, like, what are we talking here? Like,
Ooh,
can I go
great
exotic?
clarifier.
Like,
Go as exotic as you want, real
well, see,
exotic.
like, look, honestly, and, like, wallaby, I've wanted a wallaby for a while, I've already thought about it. It's
Yeah.
already miniature-sized kangaroo, and I actually looked into it. There is a here in Dallas. It's a thing that could totally happen.
Okay.
But well, look, wallabies are smart. Apparently, you can, like, diaper train them. You can leash train them. Like, who needs a dog when you can
Sure.
have a wallaby hopping down the street? Like, oh, maybe I'm just a silly boy, but
Facts. Facts.
wallaby.
Facts.
Mhm.
I respect that answer because it's researched. We both independently said giraffe, but it's giving, like the leash requirements for a wallaby and some fun facts. So,
I know that I
I
know
think
the
people
fence height requirements and all that shebang, so,
you deserve a wallaby. Listeners, comment below what animal you choose. And if it's wallaby, I get it because that's a great answer. Cool. Okay. Well, now with that, I will say I once thought about getting a sugar glider, which is like
yeah,
the mini flying squirrels and they live in your pocket.
I
And I
am
was
well
pretty dead
aware.
serious about that. Yeah, I was living with a roommate a long time ago back in San Francisco, and he said, I could really see you with a sugar glider in your pocket
Mhm.
everywhere, but you would be at work as sugar glider girl.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I felt that
Oh, yeah, they
resonate.
bond you. They're very, very needy. I will put it to you that way.
Yeah, I wasn't ready. It was namely that they're nocturnal for me, so it was gonna be
Yeah.
asleep during the day when I wanted to hang
Oh, yeah,
out,
and they're
but
making
yeah.
noises and squealing all night long.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
I was having sleep issues at the time, but I really get, exploring an animal that's a crazy pet and that being your personality. So, sugar glider as a pet is pretty achievable for me, potentially in the future, but I appreciate your participation in the game, and maybe
Sure.
we'll make that an ongoing segment.
Mhm.
Um, but back to your story. So, we kinda got your background. I'm curious before we get into just, like, the most formative experiences for you, what's kinda your brand of spirituality? And, like, Ashley is a breathwork facilitator. I'm a Reiki master, like, and everything's energy. I'm very, very attuned to energy, but we both are all the things. Do you have a,
Right.
a brand of your spirituality?
So, that's that's kind of the thing, right? Um, at least in my experience, like, I don't really try to put any kind of labels or modalities on it.
Mhm.
Just in my kind of general, experience, I've come to find that I guess, I am highly energetic being. I'm highly empathic,
Mhm.
and I guess the role that at least is it's been bestowed upon me is I'm supposed to act as this kind of bridge.
Mhm.
And the bridge being between like third dimensional and fifth dimensional consciousness. And the way I do that is I just anywhere I am, wherever I find myself, I just try to spread love and be as authentic as I possibly can be. And I'm seeing that there's a magnetism about it, and everyone that needs
Mhm.
to find me will. And
Mhm.
in that same regard, I know I'm also a mirror, and that same
Mhm.
magnetism that brings people to me that need to hear what I have to say, it goes usually one of 2 ways. Either they resonate highly and they love everything I have to say, or it repels them and they run in fear. And, either way,
Yes.
it's fine because I know what I'm doing. And, truth be told, I mean, it sounds kinda corny, but I think it's great. I'm literally here to help create heaven on earth. So,
Yeah.
whether that's breathing intensely or sound healing or what have you, I mean, it's all good. That being said, here recently, I guess the thing that kind of resonates with me the most is I've been doing, it's a combination of throat singing and beatboxing. And that allows me to
Let's
get silly. In fact,
go.
yeah, yeah. In fact, I got to do it, this
Woo!
Sunday at, friend Yahweh. In fact, I got her shirt right here. And, yeah, she hosted an
Repping the
ecstatic dance,
shirt.
and I got to open for her doing some beatboxing, so that was kinda fun.
Oh my goodness. Okay, throat
Yeah.
chakra activation. Was
Mhm,
that the first time
mhm.
publicly beatboxing, or you do
No,
that
no, I
kind of
mean,
with
like,
an audience?
I've been at, like, Solar Punk, and they had, like, open mic. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll get on there," like, Medicine for the People, like, if they got a microphone, I'll get on. I don't need much excuse. Doesn't scare me at
I
all,
love
so
it,
yeah.
I love it. You know, what you said about being a mirror and having a bit of a polarizing kind of charge in some ways is just such a marker of your authenticity and the power of your energy. I'm not even here to just, like, build you up, but it's so true, and we had a whole episode on authenticity at one
Yeah,
point. It's very easy to kind of perform in whatever environment you're in, but it's
right,
not on the soul level, the right kind of alignment that is your highest expression. So it's a good sign if people are polarized a little bit by you, but
right.
it's good to hold the charge. Now, some of our listeners know what 5D is and some don't. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what it means to you to kind of hold the 5D space a little bit?
Absolutely. Just for me, like, fifth dimensional, I mean, I don't know if you ever seen the movie, like, Interstellar. They
Mhm.
kind of break it down in like a very baseline version of it. It's just like to me, it's kinda like the lowest level of, like, light body, pure love consciousness.
Yeah,
And
totally.
honestly, like, kind of the way I perceive it too is like, as humans, we exist in this current third dimensional reality, that we can see, feel, touch, and all that. But, you know,
Yeah.
in my perception, the kind of the big difference between like fifth dimensional and third dimensional is like it's kind of a matter of perspective, whereas I view like the 3D is, I mean, not to be doom and gloom, but it's more like, based on current events, it's like third dimensional reality can be looked on as like kind of a hell on earth situation, as
A
opposed to
little
like
bit these days.
5D, which is like heaven on earth. Not to put it so bluntly, but it's just, yeah, to me, fifth
Yeah,
dimensional is like pure love essence. And I'd heard, recently too, is like, you can tell that you're in fifth dimensional consciousness, you know, like fourth dimensional is like you're in this flow state where like, you could be doing something
totally.
like you'd be listening to music or beatboxing, whatever it is, and, time just ceases to be. So you can tell you're in fifth dimensional consciousness when it's that same feeling, but you have like this just childlike sense of wonder on top of it. And that's kind of
Yeah,
the,
that's actually so
yeah, yeah. I don't remember exactly where I
that's so
heard that,
powerful,
but
the childlike wonder.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I don't remember where I heard that, but yeah, that was kind of what resonated with me is like, okay, so it's like you're outside of time and like everything's just like awesome. Like, cool.
That's awesome. I think the pure love state is a really concise way to share it too. 5D is a dimension where things just flow. Like the pure love state, you can manifest kind of instantly. There's not all
Yeah.
these forces and negativity and not even really a need to like eat or sleep. It's just
Oh, yeah,
like
just a stain
light
on
body.
sheets,
That's how I
cool.
put it described.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty epic. Cool. Well, so I kind of want to get, I know a lot more about your personal story, but I want people to learn before we get into kind of your mindset and learnings, like what are some of the major formative experiences that kind of got you here and got you to the spiritual center where I met you?
Oh, so I mean, 2020 was a rather profound year for me. That was the year of
Mhm.
the accident that put me in the wheelchair. Um, Aside from that, though, I mean, like, I was living my best life while the world was going, "Oh God, COVID." I was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna live in my
Mhm.
van in the mountains of Colorado, like, no big
Yes.
deal for me." So yeah, I mean, I jumped in my van and I hightailed it to Colorado, and I found myself in Colorado Springs. Um, Actually, I've got some friends that live there, whom I met through some of the daredevil stuff I used to do. I used to ride tricycles in a sport we called drift triking. So I went and hung out with them,
Casual.
and yeah, yeah, just riding tricycles down mountain roads, like eating mushrooms every other weekend, just finding out what I am. So
This is
yeah,
what I
I
mean by
actually,
daredevil.
yeah, just a, day in the life for me. And honestly, like every, I mean, couple of weeks, I mean, I was up in the mountains doing like high dosage, heroic dosage amounts of like mushrooms and just like, really kind of getting down and like, what am I about? And, I had, there was, well, I mean, all those trips were rather profound for me. And one particular time I found myself on top of this mountain up in, Nederland, Colorado, which I think as the crow flies, if you go straight up into the mountains from Boulder, that's where Nederland is. And,
Mm.
that particular trip, I had a conversation with what I perceived to be God. Um, Funny enough, while I was, relieving myself in the woods, I'll put it to you that way. My friend who was with me, Dave, he gets title credit for the book if I ever write it, Pooping with God. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
so yeah, yeah, that was kind of a major point there, and, I kinda break it down for you if you wanna hear it.
Please.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so, um, my friend Dave, whom I'd met here in Austin, funny enough, I was, I randomly had a kayak and there was water in the creek back in 2016 here in Austin, so I put a kayak in and started
Mhm.
going down Barton Creek, and my idea is I was gonna take, the kayak all the way down to Barton Springs and then take an Uber back to my car, and, I remember I'm going down and I go around this bend and there's like this rock with like probably a dozen just gorgeous women sunning themselves on this rock, and I just, like, taken aback, like, "Did I just see that?" And I start going around the bend, and I
Buggy.
see this guy. Yeah, I see this guy, and he's, like, paddling upstream, like, "Hey, man, you're going the wrong way." He's like, "No, I'm going back to Mermaid Rock." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." Um, so I yeah, gets talking to him, and his name's Dave, and he's like, "Hey, man, I'm new to town. Do you know anybody looking for a roommate?" I'm like, "Yeah, me." So, get to know this guy, and yeah, he ends up becoming my roommate, and then, jump ahead 2020, so he's living up in Boulder now, and, he's like, "Hey, Rail, come on, come up to Boulder for the weekend because 'cause I'm in Colorado Springs." I'm like, "Yeah, cool, whatever, dude," and, came up there, and he's like, "Alright, I got, like, 5 grams of mushrooms for us each." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, cool," and, the spot that we went, Nederland, he'd taken me up there once before and kinda showed me the spot, and it's this beautiful, like it's, like, on top of a mountain, and it looks like I don't know, like, maybe they're, like, trying to make it into rock quarry or something, like they were digging out the top of this mountain, and,
Yeah.
anyway, you can go up there and just, like, camp for free, so, like, we just go up in the van and, just chill up there, but, at the time, his roommate's like, "Well, you gotta go check out this other peak," and we went and we were starting to drive up to this other peak, and, like, the road was, like, literally lined with cars on each side, and, like, the whole way up, like, what should have taken, like, 15 minutes to get up took, like, almost an hour just because there was cars and you have to
Oh
stop
my
and wait,
gosh.
and, you know, we finally get to the top, and, like, it's starting to rain, and I'm just talking to Dave like, "What are we doing, Dave? We're gonna, like, pack our backpacks, hike into the rain, and go camp in the mountains while it's
You need
pouring
to
rain on
go.
us? That's what we're gonna do?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Why don't we just go back down the road, go over to the other peak where it's cool and, like, we can just chill in my van?" He's, "Oh, yeah, that's a great idea." I'm like, "Mhm, of course, thanks." Like, whatever. So, he proceeds to start
Genius.
just, like, throwing mushrooms back, like, taking them by the handful. I'm like, "Alright, I'm gonna make sure that I get us down the mountain before I start doing that." And so, like, by the time we
Fair
get up to the
that.
other peak, 'cause, like, yeah, it takes us an hour just to get over to the other peak, and he's already fully in it. Like, he jumps out of the van, and he immediately goes and, like, perches himself up in this tree, and he's just perched there like it looks like a pterodactyl. I'm like, "Oh, okay.
He's like,
That's
"I'm
where
a
you're at,
bird,
dude?" He's like,
actually."
"Yeah." He's like, "Yes." I'm like, "Alright, cool." So I know, like, in my experience with the mushrooms, like, what I do is I'm gonna eat something real fast. So, like, I make a meal and, like, I take my full payload and, like, I come up within the next 30 minutes. And, it's cool. I remember it hits us, like, right before the sun's setting. So, like, I don't know, for whatever reason, when we're doing these big trips, like, it's always at night. So we're not getting the visuals as much, which is fine. It doesn't bother me
Mm.
one way or the other. But it was kinda nice because we were getting some of the visuals, and I remember, like, we look past the van, and there's just kinda this cool tree, and I don't know what kinda tree it was. It almost looks like, in Japan, like, I don't know what they are. Maybe they're cherry blossom trees. I'm sure that's not what it was, but it looked
Mhm.
like this bonsai tree, and it was literally growing between these 2 mounds of dirt, and, like, the roots were just, like,
Oh.
levitating between the mounds, and we're just, like, looking at that tree. We're looking at the bark, and the bark's all wavy from the mushrooms. We're like, "Man, you're a cool tree," and the tree's just kinda looking back at us like, "Y'all are cool too." He's like, "Thanks, tree." And,
Love you.
so that yeah, we're just vibing, and, so the sun starts to go down, and, so, like, up behind us is, like, this family and, like, their toy hauler with all their ATVs and stuff, and then up the hill from that is, like, I don't know, a bunch of frat guys chilling up in the mountains, and then, directly over to our left is, like, this couple in a tent, and I remember we're looking out past the couple in the tent, and, the city of Nederland is down there, but we're looking out in the skyline, and, like, it looks like these blue, I mean, for all I could tell, like, just like blue fairies just fluttering about, and I'm looking at that going, "Dave, do you see that?" And he goes, "Yeah, I do." So granted, we're both tripping, but we're seeing the same thing, and, like, we start just kinda, like,
Mm.
naturally heading that way, and, I have the presence of mind go, hey, Dave, this couple that's in the tent, if by any chance they're seeing the same thing that we're seeing, like, let's just let them have that." He's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, cool, cool." So then what it's like, "All right, so what are we gonna do now?" I was like, "Well, let's go walkabout." He's like, "Yeah, great idea." So we go back to the van and, we're grabbing supplies, and I remember so previously, I had made that meal I spoke about. It was like rice and chili, and I've got a stupid dad
Mhm.
joke, like, anytime it's chilly outside, I'm like, "Yeah, did you bring the bowl, to put the chili in?" So, I had the bowl of chili. And I brought that
Sure.
because, like, I thought I don't know, it was like, "Maybe Dave's gonna be hungry, so I need to bring this bowl of chili." So I literally had, like it was like
Oh,
in a
nice.
measuring cup, and I just had this bowl of chili I was carrying for, like, whatever reason, like, "Yeah, I need this." And then I had, from Star Wars, the child, little Grogu, I had him, I'm like, "He needs to come with us." So I'm like, I'm carrying him, this bowl of chili, and I got my phone. I'm like, "We need the phone, our little Android buddy, in case we need tunes or something." So, like, I'm carrying all this silly stuff just to, like, prove a point, like, "Hey, I can carry all this silly stuff, like, it's cool." And I'm like, "What do you need, Dave?" He goes, "I
Got
got
it.
rainbow Skittles." "Oh, you got rainbow Skittles?" Like, "Yeah, we're set." So, I remember too, like, this night, I don't know if it was, like, a complete full moon, but, like, it was very close to a full moon, so, like, it's like, we don't even need flashlights, we can see, so, like, it's fine. So, we kinda start heading off, and we find ourselves, like, at this little gravel mound. We kinda stand on this gravel mound. We, like, eat the rainbow Skittles, like, "Alright, cool. Which way we going?" He's, "Well, let's go this way over the mountaintop because 'cause I've never been that way before." And I'm like, "Well, I hadn't been here," so, like, "Okay, sure, whatever." And we start going,
Mhm.
and I remember, like, the trees are, like, overgrown above our heads, and, like, there's, like, this pencil beam of light that just kinda led the way, and, like, we're just going in the darkness. And I remember we're hiking along and Dave's like, "Yo, this feels like it's unsafe." I'm like, "Why?" Because of, like, cougars and
Really?
bears and stuff. He's like, "Yeah." Yeah. He's like I'm like, "Nah, dude, it's fine. We're protected." He goes, "How do you know?" I said, "I just know. I just know. Don't worry about it." So we start going
Mm.
along
Like a
and
true
we
man.
just yeah, right? So we get going to and there's this fork in the trail. And I remember we looked down to the right and, like, that's just dark and gloomy. We're like, "Nah, we're not gonna do that." So we go left and we find ourselves like it's literally like this cemetery on top of this mountain. And, Dave's like, "I didn't know this was here." Because Dave's been up in the area before. And like, I was like, "Well, dude, I've never been here in my life." So like, I sure as hell didn't know it was here. And I remember, I'm just kind of sitting there and I hear, it sounds like singing. And mind you, we're far enough away from all the other people that were camping, like, it's not them, and, I kinda sit there and feel into it, I'm like, "Dave, I hear singing, do you hear that?" He goes, "No." I said, "It's the people that are here in the cemetery. It's the spirits, and they want you to know they're happy, and, like, we're welcome." He's like, "Cool. I don't hear it." I said, "No worries." About that time,
I
as,
got you.
the mushrooms yeah, as the mushrooms tend to do for me, like, the stomach starts grumbling, I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna have to go take care of a thing, Dave." And me and all my infinite wisdom, I didn't bring the toilet paper, I brought all the other silly stuff, but not the toilet paper. So I'm like, "I gotta go take care of a thing." He's, "Okay, I'm just gonna stay here." I was like, "Alright, I'll see you later, no worries." So, I just start hiking back to the van and, I get to the van and, like, I've got, like, this portable toilet, so I'm pulling out the portable toilet, I get the toilet paper, I got the shovel, and I mean, I just find, like, a clump of trees, like, it's barely in the woods, like, whatever, it's fine. So, like, I start digging the hole, and I just feel this presence come over me, and it's, like, this very, fatherly presence, and it's just, like, this feeling I have. And I'm digging the hole, and it's like, "Just sit down already." I'm like, "Yeah, but I gotta do." He's like, Just sit down. It's fine. It's fine. Just sit down." So I sit down, like, I have this awareness, like, "Oh, okay. This is what's happening right now." It's like, yeah, and the feeling I had is like, "Hey, now yeah, now that I got you and you can't run away, let's talk." I'm like, "Alright." So there I am sitting in the woods doing my business, having a conversation with God, and I called it
Sure.
God, it's like I could have called, "Hey, past, future, present, infinite love self." That's too long a thing to say, so, just God. It's nice and succinct. It didn't correct me, so, like, yeah, God. And I remember, so, like, I didn't hear any voice, um, but, what happened was, like, I asked a series of questions, and the questions were rhetorical, in which I already knew the answer was gonna be yes. So it's like, "Alright." So the first question I asked said, "Alright, I believe, my mission in life is to spread love." And then I received the answer was yes. And the way I received the answer is like the entire sky lit up white right in front of my face and like right in my third eye all at once, just bing. It's like the proverbial light bulb going off. It's like, okay. And the questioning kept going. It's like, all right, I believe I'm in the right place. I'm on the right path. Yes, yes, yes. Final question I asked, I said, okay, can we make it easier? Yes. Ding, ding, ding. I should have been very hyper specific because um, to add context, can we make it easier to spread the mission of love? And I fully believe that the paralysis, the wheelchair is the answer to that question I asked on that day. Um, Namely because
Mhm.
in this lifetime, at least, I can't speak for the other ones, but in this lifetime, I hadn't really had any trauma. So I
Mhm.
needed some contrast. I was learning what unconditional love was, what I am, my place in that. It's like, okay, well, like, how do you really know if you don't have anything to compare it to? So, the accident, the chair, that's the contrast I needed so I could have perspective on it. And so, like, that was kind of a
Mm.
major point. And I mean, that so 2020 is like, I would have been up there, beginning of June and then through the end of the year. So like accident included, 2020 is still like probably one of the best years of my life. So that's saying something. And
Heck
so yeah, that
yeah.
was
Oh
kind
my
of yeah.
god.
So that was kind of one of the major jumping points, at least in that, highly condensed summer of like epicness. And then the accident itself happened, I wanna say October 11th of 2020, and then I can get into that if you wanna hear about that as well.
Oh, please.
Okay, so, like I said, every other weekend, doing, like, profound mushroom trips and whatnot, finding out what I am, it's like, okay. So, yeah, I ingratiated myself with this, climbing gym there in Colorado Springs. It was pure bouldering gym. I used to rock climb, back like in my 20s and, kind of the thing I've done off and on over the decades. So, yeah, just found myself hanging out there quite frequently. And what, I did there was bouldering. I don't know if you're familiar with rock climbing at all, but
Mhm.
bouldering, it's just, you use crash pads. You don't climb above, like 15 foot, 20 foot at the highest. And, it's
Yep.
like, I can do bouldering, like, indoors anywhere, like, I'm in Colorado, I wanna go climb some big ass rocks. So, like, I kid
Yes.
you not, yeah, I met this guy, named Colum, not Colin, Colum. I'm Rail, we get a pillar, we could start a rock band, can't make this stuff up, and met this kid on a Thursday, and, he's like, "I'll take you." I'm like, "Sweet." And so, I get to pulling out my gear. I've got a harness, but it's like 20 years old. And one of the guys at the gym's like, "Dude, you can't use that harness." I'm like, "Why not?" He goes, "'Cause it's been sitting in the bottom of your bag covered in chalk for 20 years. It's no good." I'm like, "Okay." He goes, "Borrow mine." I'm like, "Sweet, thanks." So, like, that was probably already a red flag, but whatever. So, I'm talking to Colin,
Whatever.
he's like, "Alright, where do you wanna go?" He goes, "Well, let's go to Garden of the Gods." I said, "Alright, when?" "This weekend." I said, "Okay, what day?" He goes, "Sunday." I'm like, "Alright." He goes, "Let's go for a sunrise." I'm like, Great." I'm not a morning person. I'm like, "But dude, you're bringing all the gear." So, like, I'm gonna go when you wanna go. And,
Showing up and
so
showing out like a true friend.
yeah. Yeah, so I'd already been to Garden of the Gods numerous times, like, I know that, like, at 10 o'clock they come and close the gate. I'm in my van, I just sleep
Mm.
in the van, I'm like, "Just lock me in, it's fine." So I go there Saturday night and, like, at, like, 9:50, like, I hop out of the van, I go hide around the corner, and, the park ranger comes and, like, I can hear him stop at the van, he's, like, knocking on the window, and I'm like, "Just go away, dude, it's fine, just go away." He does his due diligence, "Park's closed." I'm like, "I know, leave, see you later." He finally leaves,
Correct.
and I go to sleep, and then, I wake up the next day butt crack of dawn and, make some food, and I go use the on-site restroom, and, you know, there's no sign of call him, so I'm calling him, and the phone just ringing and ringing and ringing, and finally, he picks up, he's like, "Uh, hello?" I'm like, "Hey, man, I'm here, I guess I'll see you when I see you," and he's like, Yeah, like, how long?" He's like, I was like, "Alright, dude, I'll see you later." And,
Just
he
chilling at this
finally
point,
yeah,
yeah.
he finally gets there, like, an hour later, and I'll never forget, so, like, in Colorado Springs, it's right there at the front range of the mountains, like, it's, like, right at the doorstep, and from, like, mid-September on, like, just randomly, like, "It's gonna snow today." So, like, this was, early mid-October, and, like, it wasn't snowing or anything, but, like, it was, like, a overcast, blustery day, and I took notice of
Mm.
that. So, we get to the spot, and it's just this, you know I think they say it's 110 foot, but for the sake of the story, 111 sounds better. It's just this 111 knife blade rock that shoots into the sky, and, it's supposed to be multi-pitch, meaning, we go up halfway and then reset, and then the next guy goes up kinda thing, but Column's like, "Dude, I have 300 foot of rope, we can do it in one go." I'm like, "Okay." So
Whoa.
the the climb itself was not hard. I mean, the grade on is like a 5.8, which is really it's like, if you were to put a grade on that, it's essentially like climbing a ladder. So it wasn't
Mm.
hard, but the problem is, at 111 feet from the bottom, one, you can't see the top, and two, you can't hear the top. So when you're belaying
Mm.
the other person, you can't really communicate with them very well because you can't see them, you can't hear them. So he's got to go up first because I don't know how to set the top anchor. This was actually my first
Mhm.
time going outside to do outdoor climbing. So, that's the way it goes. But so he's yeah, 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 lucky me. So, he's got to go up first. So he goes up and he's setting all the quick draws and like clipping the rope in. Um, and I remember before he goes up, it's like, okay, well, you're gonna go up, I gotta belay you. And he goes,
I'm gonna interrupt you for a
once
second and have you
go for it.
describe what belaying is. What is
Okay.
belaying for the audience, since it's critical to the story?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for rope climbing, you're gonna have one person that's attached to the end of the rope, and, the belayer is the person at the bottom who's basically in charge of making sure that if they fall, you catch them. So, the belayer is basically the one that's keeping you safe. So essentially,
Mhm.
you'll have, in rock climbing with the rope climbing, you'll have the lead climber. So the lead climber will climb up and he has quick draws, which, is essentially it's like, it's just a piece of strap and then there's carabiners and they clip the carabiners into an anchor bolt that's on the wall. And then once the
Mhm.
quick draw is on, they'll take the rope and they'll clip the rope into that carabiner, into that quick draw. So that way, if they fall, the belayer has time. He'll pull in the slack and catch him so he doesn't continue to fall down the wall. So yeah, that's what I mean. The belayer is basically, you know, the guy who's keeping you from falling. So, you know, we establish he's got to climb all the way up. So, you know, out of that 300 foot of rope, he's got 111 foot of it, plus a little bit of slack, call it, I don't know, maybe 120. Regardless, I've got another 180 foot that I've got to now feed up the wall to him before I'm taut. And now he can belay me to come up.
Mhm.
So, like I said, couldn't hear each other, couldn't see each other. So it's like, okay, we established like I'm gonna feed you all that slack. And then once it gets to the end, I'm gonna give you a definitive like 1, 2, 3 triple tug. That means, hey, I'm done feeding in that slack. Put me on belay. I'm coming up the wall. So I noticed I'd said earlier, like it was kind of a blustery, overcast day. I noticed when he was climbing up, the wind was putting a lot of tension on the rope. It was kind of pulling on it. And I made note of that. So, he goes up and I feed all the slack and I feel like I'm sitting there for eternity just feeding slack. And I mean, it had to have been at least a good 15 minutes just feeding a rope up the wall. So it finally
Mm.
gets taut. I give him that triple tug. It's like, all right. And I wait a sec. And I start climbing. So I go up to like the first quick draw. I pull the quick draw off. So like, the lead climber goes up and it's called setting the pro. He's setting all the gear. And then the guy that comes up after him, he pulls all the gear off. So I go up and I pull the first quick draw off, stick it on my harness. I get up to like the second or third uh, anchor bolt. And by then I'm like probably 40 foot off the wall, off the ground. And I notice as I'm climbing up, there's a lot of slack in the rope, and I'm like, "Dude, pulling the slack,
Mhm.
like, tightrope me a little bit, geez." And, I hear my phone go off my backpack, and I just, like, literally I just take, like, one of my fingers and, like, I just hold on to, like, the anchor bolt with my finger, and then I swing the backpack around because I already know who it is. Just one-handed pull the phone out of my backpack, and I'm just holding on to the rock with one finger like, "Hey, man, what's up?" And he goes, "Hey, let me know when you're done feeding him the slack. I'll put you on belay." I said, "Dude, I'm already halfway up the wall." He's like, "Oh, I'll put you on belay now." Like, "Thanks, that'd be great." So it turns out I was free climbing up the wall anyway, which, like I said, it wasn't a very difficult climb, but when you don't know that you're, you know, if you fall, you're gonna fall, like, it's a different story. So, get to the top
Mhm.
and we just kinda look around. I'm like, "Alright, cool, this is nice, like, how do we get down?" We climb, and then he goes, "No, no, no, so, I guess standard practice is you're supposed to both have a, rappel device. So he's got a rappel device, he's just gonna, like, lower himself down, but he didn't have 2, so, like, I'll just belay you down, which I don't know necessarily, like, if that's not standard practice, like, it seems like that's a fine thing to do, and I think that's a thing you can do. It's just, for whatever
Mhm.
divine intervention, that's not the way things happen that day. So, we we climb up the knife edge, and then, we're gonna belay down, like, this side right here. So he's gotta basically belay me down the wall, and he's gonna rappel down behind me, and I remember, like, we have the conversation right before he goes to let me down the wall. He goes, "How do you prefer to be belayed?" And I kid you not, I looked him right in the face. I said, "Dude, you can basically drop me. Just catch by the bottom." See, because if I was rappelling, I would probably just go and catch at the bottom, and I just assume that everybody can do that for me. So
Mhm. Great assumption there.
Trust fall from, yeah, the action I call the trust fall from 60 feet. I don't recommend it. So he goes to start lowering me down the wall, and, he's I got my feet are basically, kicked against the wall, so, like, he's letting me down, I'm kicking my feet off the wall, and I get probably like a 4 foot just kind of a herk on that rope, and I'm like, "Okay, he's just figuring it out." And, he starts letting me down a little bit further, and I just start going. Now, at that point in time, when I start falling, like, I'm I'm somewhere between 60, 55 foot off the ground, and to fall that amount of distance in real world time, you're talking like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, literally, it's like that fast. But, through riding tricycles and dirt bikes and all the silly stuff I do, like, adrenaline just kicks in and time just kinda slows down, and I'm just, like, looking between my legs like, "Oh, I'm still falling. I'm still falling. Oh, I'm still falling." So, the rock is kind of, like, jutting out, like, I'm falling into the rock. Like, so, I'm falling and, like, I'm like, "Well, I guess I'm gonna try to stop myself." I put my feet onto the rock and, like, put my hand in this crack. Now, you can kinda see this pinky right here kind of permanently crooked now because silly me, I tried to stop myself on the way down. So like I put my feet on this, onto this little ledge and like ripped my hand in that crack and I had too much momentum. So I just kept falling. And now it's like I'm spun. So like the wall is just like here beside me and I'm just looking up sky and I'm just like, okay, catch, 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 catch. Oh shit. And I
Not
wasn't
catching.
wearing a helmet. Yeah, yeah, I wasn't wearing a helmet at the time, which, that's a no-no. So I already instinctually know I take my chin and tuck it to my chest, and I land literally, like, the wall is right here beside me, and there's, like, a Volkswagen-sized boulder just to the other side of me. I land right between the 2, like, perfectly right between the 2, and I had my chin tucked to my chest so my head didn't hit the ground. The backpack I was wearing, it broke me at the bottom and the top, and, the top is what caused the paralysis, and, I
Mm,
hit, and I'm still alive, and I'm just like, I can't feel my legs. I'm like, "I know what that means,"
mm.
and the first thought I have is I'm looking back up the wall like, "Hey, I'm still alive." 'Cause, you know, the rope is just going and he didn't catch. That means only one thing, so he's gotta know,
Oh,
like, "Oh god," like, so he's probably just up there thinking like, "Oh god, I just killed this guy." Um, so I
mm,
can't feel my legs, and my hand, like, feels messed up. I'm like, "Yeah." So I, like, broke parts of my hand, and I didn't know it at the time, but I'd also taken and broken 5 of my ribs and one of those ribs came and punctured a hole in my right lung. But the whole time I was just
oh,
calm. I was like zen. In fact, I didn't even feel any pain. I was just calm. And, so I've already self-diagnosed and like this is a Sunday morning Garden of the Gods. It's a popular place. Woman comes and runs up, like gets
mhm.
right in my face. She's like, "Oh my God, you just fell like 60 feet." I looked at her, I said, "I know, I was there." And, like, she's starting to go into shock. I'm like, I need you to listen to me." I'm like, "My back is broken, my hand feels messed up, I don't know what else." And I was like, "Let's call it EMS." And she's like, "Yes." She's like, "Don't move." I said, "I'm not going anywhere." And I'm just kinda, like, half joking, but, like, I'm just, like, trying to lighten the mood. And, I get a
Were you
whole bunch of
really
people.
trying to lighten the mood?
I'm just being calm. I'm just being calm, just being zen, and,
Yeah,
like, this is verbatim
yeah.
what I'm saying, and, I could tell, like, she's going to shock. I need you to be calm right now so I can get you
Mm,
to do what I need you to do for me, please. Um, so, I've got a group of people gathered around me, and, like, they call EMS. In fact, I think the EMS, like, crew, they get there within, like, 10 minutes. This is clearly not the first time something like this has happened.
mm,
So, like, I think, they get there before he's even come down the wall yet, and got a group of people around
mm.
me, and, he's coming down the wall. He's gotta come down and, like, land right where I am. So I'm just, like, looking at him like, "Don't you land on me." And, like, last second, he swings wide, and, like, everybody's around me, and, like, everyone's like I'm like, "Move." And I point right at him. I said, "You, come here." I waved him over, and I got him, like, right here in front of my face. I said, "Hey, man. I know this was an accident. I know you didn't mean for this to happen. I want you to sleep tonight. I don't want you to live with this." Like, I forgave him on the spot. And, like, you could tell, like, he just registered, like, "Ugh." but, like,
Wow.
this was divine orchestration, this was supposed to happen, so, like, I just I had this recognition of it, and yeah, it's not a thing that I would wish upon anybody, but it's not for anybody, this was for me, so, yeah, that's what happened for my 2020. Those are, like, 2 of the major events, aside from all the other silliness going on, but yeah, yeah, that's kind of,
Yeah, that is quite the story. All right, I'm gonna help. I just wanna kinda construct thoughts around where we go from here, but I do wanna
sure,
say it's so remarkable that you are able to, A, stay so calm and so grounded, and even as you've healed and you've developed your new life to kind of, like, really have that perspective of this being a divine gift, but B, to be so forgiving. Spend maybe 1 second on like, was it just natural to you to be forgiving in that moment? Do you ever reflect on that and feel angry?
no, not at all. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, whether it's just my own empathy, but I had the feeling like, it was supposed to happen. Not only that, I had premonitions of it coming, so to be mad at him being the catalyst for it just didn't seem like there was any point in that. Um, so yeah, no, there was never
Yeah,
any animosity at all towards him. And, even
that's
to that degree, so
beautiful.
yeah, well, thank you. To the same degree, I waited about a month. He'd come visit me in the hospital, and I finally asked him a month later, it's like, "Dude, what happened?" And he said when he was lowering me down, I remember, like, it was blustery, and he said, like, the rope was putting tension on his thumb, and it felt like his thumb was about to break. So knee-jerk reaction, he just pulled his hand off. Well, once you pull the hand off, you're not gonna catch a rope that's going, 60 miles an hour through it's not gonna happen. So, it's just yeah, it was divine
Oh.
intervention.
Yeah, and we talk a lot on this pod about and just generally in my life talk a lot about how sometimes the people in our lives, not that Column was a villain in your life, but people are
Yeah,
contracting on a soul level to help teach us lessons. So we come in and incarnate with our
yeah.
parents, and so some people have the best parents ever, some have mid parents, some have parents that teach them a lot from a more challenging kind of environment. But we always try to leave our listeners with some kind of takeaways and things to ponder, and that's one. If Rail here can instantly forgive Calm and have that perspective that this is a soul that entered his life to share gifts, like, maybe you can too for someone kind of, annoying you at
Yeah,
work.
maybe
Um,
forgiveness, might be the way to go.
just one little takeaway is a treat, but no, I do admire that though. I think it's really easy to blame other people or be self-victimizing. Another thing I wanna share with the audience and have your perspective on is how you maintain such a positive mindset and a more higher perspective mindset despite being a person that could totally sit and go to the spiritual center and talk about traumas and self-victimize. Of course, you don't have a perfect life, but you also have so many gifts too. Like, what is it about you that you've been able to calibrate this mindset that has the higher perspective?
So, you know, uh, with that year 2020, like, finding out, like, "Oh, this is what unconditional love is," I tapped into that.
Mm.
Now, don't get me wrong, like, 21, I came back and I'm in Austin, like, 21 was a rough year for me, and that was kinda my year to grieve, and,
Yeah.
I realized after that year, it's like, you know, playing the victim is not gonna get me anywhere. Not only that, but, like, this is a thing that I asked for, so, like, I was supposed to
Mhm.
feel it. Definitely supposed to feel it, but it's like, I'm not supposed to, like, live with that grief. Um, and
Mhm.
for me, I'd spoken about earlier, like, having awareness that I'm this bridge. For me, just speaking like an energetic level, I know where I'm at, in the chakra system, so when I close my eyes, and I don't know if this is a common thing or not, but for me, when I close my eyes, I'm able to see like this brilliant emerald green, which tells me that I'm centered in my heart chakra, which gives me like just this
Mhm.
general baseline barometer. So like that tells me I'm just like in this love state. And, anytime like the ego mind starts cropping up all the anxieties and what have you, it's like if I can just like slow
Mm.
down and find myself in presence, it's like, oh yeah, I am pure love. Like it's fine. It's all fine. So I just try
Mhm.
to embody and, you know, tap into that as, much as I'm able and just exude that outwardly. And yeah, and if all else fails, relish any chance to be a little bit silly. And that's kind of my brand. It's just, like you said, be a silly goose and tell people you love them, make it weird. Make it as weird as you can. And yeah, that's what it is
Yes.
for me, just letting people know that I love them and being genuine about it.
Yeah, you're a very, very loving person and a silly goose. I will say for the audience, if we're in a room with a bunch of people, Rail will make a comment like, "Well, I can't go sit over there. My legs don't work," like, loudly, so it looks like I said
Yeah.
something horrible to him just to mess with me, which is very funny.
Yeah.
Um, so would you say when you called in this kinda dualistic experience that you asked for with God as you were pooping on a mountain, did you need that to embody pure love in this way that you're doing, do you think?
Um, at least for this lifetime, I needed the contrast. I think back like the Matrix movies. They talk about the first Matrix they made was just like this paradise, but it didn't work because nobody
Mm.
had like any contrast, any struggle. And for me, I knew I needed that contrast more so like I know that the reason I incarnated in this lifetime was to experience that contrast. So yeah,
Mm.
I mean, I know that that was a paramount part of it. And, granted, like, I'm not gonna lie, like every day for me is pain. It's painful, but like,
Yeah.
it's that's the human side of it, and, I try to remain
Mm.
grateful and, that I get to experience all of it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. That contrast is extremely important, and that's in some ways why we incarnate as humans, right? I will say
Right.
my podcast co-host Ashley, she kind of wants to go to jail to experience the contrast with her regular life. That's a whole bit from a different episode. I want to go to
Well,
jail
jail
to
is one
just sleep
thing,
and work
prison's
out.
another.
Yeah. Very, very true. So jail, not prison for on the record for everybody. But no, I like how you think about it. And I do like that you're acknowledging that your days aren't all perfect fairy rainbows and sunshine. And it's probably easy for people to project onto you some, godlike figure of neutrality and love, but it's beautiful to actually acknowledge like, "Hey, it doesn't mean that my life is perfect. On the contrary, I'm in extraordinary pain, but I choose to be that vessel of love." And by the way, emerald green is the May color, and I'm a May baby, so I like that. But cool. I have one more quick question on the experience.
Mhm.
So we've talked a little bit about exit points on this podcast about like, hey, maybe there's little, I don't know, places in your journey where your soul is contracted to die. Do you
Yeah.
believe in exit points?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, yeah, I mean, the year 2020 was a major exit point for a lot.
You think that 2020 was absolutely an exit point for you, but your soul had a little bit more to learn here.
Well, so yeah. Yeah, I mean, in multiple parallel timelines, I did not make it out of that day, but, this particular soul was like, "Well, we're gonna put you in one where, like, yeah, you're gonna have to learn a lesson, but, no, we need you to stay around." Like, "Okay."
Like, "Shucks, I guess I'll stay." That's funny.
Yeah, it's like, "Remember how you signed up for this? Like, yeah, we're gonna need you to go ahead and stay." It's like, "Yeah, I got it."
Ah, I love it, I love it. Alright, so I wanted to kind of talk about, I'm sure a lot of people talk to you about your accident, and it is a very compelling story, especially as it relates to how you've evolved as a human and as a soul and a consciousness. Um, but you're so much more than your accident, right? I wanted to see what it is that you want to create for your world moving forward. Like, what are your big dreams? And if they relate to the accident or not is moot. Just kind of what are you trying to call in, and maybe we can all hold space for that manifestation.
Well, so, any excuse to be silly goose, I'm there for it. And, the thing for me is like definitely something with the beatbox and the throat singing. All the intuitions I've got, I'm supposed to be on a microphone expressing myself in whatever way that is. I mean, I'd say I'll do stand-up comedy. I'm not doing stand-up, I'll do sit-down comedy. But yeah, it seems to be I'm supposed to have my voice and I'm supposed to spread it. And exactly what that is, I don't feel like I'm supposed to have all the details just yet, and that's part of the way, you know we I think you spoke about manifestation. I'm learning to manifest through the heart, and part of that
Mhm.
manifestation is relying on the intuition and knowing that, what's best for me will find itself to me. And, the other thing aside from the contrast that I'm learning in with the paralysis is patience and, you know, not having all the answers and learning to be okay and know that it's all coming to me. Um, but yeah, to boil it all down, I'm supposed to be doing something silly on a microphone. That much I know. So that's the way I'm gonna keep going, at least in regards to that.
You're absolutely nailing the expressing yourself on a microphone by joining a podcast today, and the beatboxing is gonna
Yeah,
go crazy, so I can't wait to come to a future performance and dance my little self off. Alright, so we've got one more question, it's kind of a silly question, so I'll wrap up kind of the spiritual, serious takeaways with, I'm so proud of who you are as a human, as a soul, and I'm so inspired by how wise you are and how attuned to your higher self you are, and God, even if you're on a mountain pooping. So, thank you for sharing your story. But I want to wrap
of
up with one
course.
more question. And I kind of told you that this podcast has that interplay of the spiritual and material world. So, what is a non spiritual, maybe not beatboxing thing you like to do to let loose?
Um, well, I'll show you. Uh, I like to customize action figures, and I don't know if this is coming out well on the camera, not really, but this guy's actually gonna look like me. Yeah, you can't see it at all, but anyway. Yeah, I'm kinda crafty. So, yeah, anything that's, like, artistic, I'm down. In fact, right above
Mm.
me, I made that guy in high school, that guy also. So, yeah, art,
That's
dance.
That's a yeah, that artistic drive, so your little sacral chakra online. All to say, Rail's pretty freaking cool. He's been a daredevil. There's whole stories about like tricycling that we could have gone way further into, creating art,
Oh, yeah.
beatboxing, star of podcasts. All of the things. Well, I so appreciate you joining. Is there anything else you want to share with our audience or anything to plug or any experiences, Instagram, social media, anything else you want to share?
I mean, yeah, I'm on, Facebook if people still use that, Instagram, it's just my name, it's Rael Noonan. I actually do have a YouTube, not that I really post anything on it, but, come find me in ecstatic dance or anywhere, and, I'll talk your ear off if you let me, and I'll probably look you right in the eyes and tell you I love you, and, however you take that, that's fine by me, but I'm gonna say it, so yeah, and that's really what it is, my final thoughts are, if I haven't told you today, I love you, so, yeah, I think the world needs more of that.
Wow, Rail, I love you. Thank you so much for joining the pod this week. My heart just expanded so much hearing that. So, oh, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna go cry. So, PPs is what we call our parallel paths listeners. PPs, PPs. We love you so much. Thank you, Rail, and please share, like, subscribe, hang out, comment. We'd love to hear from you. Take care.